Hey folks, Urban Combat Survivor here. I wanted to make a video today about a prevailing perception that I see out there, pretty much all over the place, in movies and in videos and in preparation guides that I've seen for if there is a breakdown of the rule of law. And I think that most, if not all, of that information has failed to take into account some realities that we can see in our world right now today. I think that's Hollywood thinking, and it's not realistic. So what I want to talk about today is who is going to organize. I'm not talking about making militias and that kind of thing. That's been talked about ad nauseum all over YouTube and everywhere else. What I'm talking about is the other side. Who else is going to organize? Yeah, the police, they're going to be organized for a while at least. They'll be trying to maintain or reestablish the rule of law, but anyone who's watched anything about the LA riots or Katrina or any other disaster has seen how effective that is or isn't. What I think people need to think about is what happens after the police stop organizing. The reason I think police are going to stop organizing is it's a long topic and it can take forever to explain and track down all the different trails that led to it. But at the end of the day, I think they're only going to last for a certain amount of time, a week, 2 weeks maybe. After that, you probably can't depend on it, if you can depend on it that long. But there's the other side of the coin. There are already people who are organized in every city in this country. And those are people distributing stolen stuff or illegal stuff. Drug gangs, any other kind of gang, any other kind of mob or organization. The danger isn't necessarily going to be from the maniac mobs running around rioting, although that's going to be dangerous. That's not going to be the primary danger after the first week or two. After the first week or two, somebody, whenever there is a vacuum, someone moves to fill that vacuum. If there is no authority, somebody is going to step in and try to fill the void. And unfortunately, it's more likely that the bad guys are going to do that than the good guys. There are organizations right now in every aspect of life that are distributing, for instance, drugs. These are people that have a lot of guns, and in some cases they have more than just guns. In some cases they have grenades and RPGs and all kinds of weaponry. They already have guns. They already have an organization. Everybody knows who their boss is and who their subordinates are. And most importantly, they already have a criminal mindset, a take things mindset. There are already people who have shown a propensity for doing whatever the hell they want without regard for the rule of law. Well, when there isn't a rule of law, what makes you think anything is going to be there to keep them in check? There's not. If you want to see an example of that, just look south. Look at northern Mexico. Basically, 5 drug cartels have taken over the entire northern portion of that country from coast to coast. And, they marched into a major Mexican city and just took it over. They slaughtered the police force. Every time the Mexican government has tried to send any kind of military in there to stop it, what's happened? They've been repelled, man. They can't stop them. Those same people have organizations in your city. Those same people, it might not be a very tightly knit organization, but it doesn't have to be. There's already contact, and they have the same mindset. So those are the people. Those are the people that are going to be organized. If you want to see an example of what can happen pretty quickly, look at places like Liberia, where the rule of law completely disappeared, and it wasn't the mobs that was the problem. It was the organized, armed groups that were the problem. It's going to be the same thing if the rule of law breaks down here in the country. And they're going to do the same things that you can see all throughout the world today in places where there is no rule of law. They're going to start taking things over that they deem to be valuable, either for themselves or to sell and exploit. Gas stations. Well, people are going to be running out of gas pretty quickly. You think these guys aren't going to roll up with a couple of guys with a lot of guns and take over a gas station and tell you you can't have none of their gas? Or if you want some of their gas, you have to give them X, Y, Z, and Q? They'll do that pretty quickly. Supermarkets, whatever's left after the first couple of weeks, because let's face it, most people have enough food in their house to last maybe a week. After that, they're kind of screwed. So the supermarkets are going to be hit pretty quickly, but they're not going to be decimated completely. So everything in them is going to become much, much more valuable. And you don't think guys that have already taken over a gas station, so they have gas for their SUVs and their pickups and their Escalades, you don't think they're going to show up at supermarkets and tell you, oh, well, you want these 3 cans of corn, you're going to have to, give my buddy over there, 3 hours in the back with your daughter or your wife there. And, oh yeah, and on top of that, I want your shoes and, and your jacket. So, if you doubt these things can happen, man, just look at the news. Google's your friend. Read about what's gone on in places where the rule of law has broken down even for a short amount of time. So, you need to think about it. It's a question. Who's going to organize? So, think about that even if you think you're organized. Even if you think that you have people that you've already set things up with in your city. Oh, well, me and 5 of my buddies, we have a deal. If anything ever goes down, we're gonna meet up. Well, think about this. Who's watching your house while you guys are meeting up? Where are you meeting up? You're leaving your home? You're leaving everything you've set up? You're gonna grab a 5-minute bug out bag and run out and leave everything else behind? Watch my other videos if you think you're going to get out of the city quickly. I don't think that's going to happen. So I think you need to be ready to deal with organized, armed, criminally minded animals. Thugs. Straight thugs. You need to be ready. You don't think it can happen? Just look south. Just look south. The Mexican situation that's already trying to bleed over our border now, while there is relatively rule of law. How long do you think it's going to take them to just walk across that border if the collapse of whatever kind happens? I don't think it'll take them more than a couple weeks to start hitting southern cities, trying to take those over, if they don't already have a plan for it. Everybody out there talking about preparing. You think they don't see that? You think they're not making their own plans? Just in case? And even if they don't have plans, they have guns, and they have a criminal mindset. They're predators. They're going to take. They feel entitled. Well, you're going to have to protect what's yours. You think the food you're storing is the only thing you're going to have to protect? Nah. What about your wife? And here's something else to think about. While you're making your preparations, everybody's thought about putting food away and water and a bunch of other provisions. But have you thought about the fact that there's not going to be any fire services? Have you thought about medical? You got a med kit, you got a first aid kit, whatever you have. Have you thought about fire? Have you made sure you have fire extinguishers? Because you can have the greatest rifle in the world. You can't watch all directions at once, and it only takes one Molotov cocktail coming through your window to end everything that you've worked to prepare, everything you've worked to build your whole life, and everything you've struggled to get ready for in case a rule of law breakdown happens. So think, people. Think about who's going to organize, and think about what your response is going to be to those organizations. Because man, look at what happened in Africa. Even when aid finally showed up, the gangs, the mobs, the thugs rolled in there with their AK-47s, and they took over the medical supplies that were brought in by the UN. They took over the food drops. They completely took them. So think about what the people had to do to get some of that food and medicine. Urban Combat Survivor, signing off.